This is an old question that few can answer of what happens after death. Our only vision of a dead person is that he is not alive and has only been transferred from one world to another. What do you think death is like? In the continuation of this fascinating part of 333.Persia Entertainment with the subject of resurrection after death, we hear the words of people who have experienced it, the post-mortem conditions according to the people who died and then came back to life. 5 years ago, Monitor Monkey underwent major surgery which resulted in his death within minutes, and after regaining consequences, he said, "I woke up somewhere like space, but there were no stars or light, and I was floating and not talking, and I was just there. I was neither hot or cold, I was neither hungry or tired. I had a neutral feeling like that. I felt that there was a real light and love around me even though I had no desire and no need to see myself, and I thought about my whole life and it was like the feeling of reading a book and I'm the reader of that book. Whatever it was, it changed me and I'm still afraid of death, but I am not worried about what happens next." Subscribe our YouTube channel to watch the rest of this video and more. Chinida is a man who was thrown from his motorbike while traveling at a speed of 50 miles per kilometer and died when he arrived at the hospital. As he lay on the road for the ambulance to arrive, he called someone he knew. I just remember being on a sidewalk and everything was getting darker and darker. The only reason I could not sleep was because I felt like I was coming to meet someone and I felt a strange moment. Then someone put his hand on my helmet and took the helmet off my head, and after opening the helmet I saw my brother, and this was a surprise to me because my brother had died several years ago, and unfortunately I don't remember more details. While many users refer to their death as a few seconds, it is very different from people who die for several minutes. Now tell the story of another person who died for a few minutes. I remember lying on my back by the water and it was slowly turning black. Suddenly it was completely black and I was staring at the garden. It should be noted that this garden was not full of flowers and was occupied by weeds. There was also a playground where a girl and a boy were playing. It's a little hard to describe because I had a feeling that I could both stay and leave, but I couldn't leave every time I tried to leave. I remembered all the reasons for my return and said that I wanted to return so that I would not leave my mother alone. And then my soul turned to my body while I was dead for 6 minutes. As can be guessed, a teenager cannot understand the meaning of death. A child who came to chemotherapy started bleeding from his nose and died of some infection for several minutes, but fortunately regained consciousness and described it well. The worst part of all this was that it was very relaxing. It's like you hit the snooze button on your cell phone every morning at 7 o'clock, and after remembering that it's your work time or your school time, you have to get up immediately and pay for them. For me, the short minutes of death passed like the nap, in the midst of which the torturous calm. I felt a very moment and I had to wake up, and I wanted to wake up by force. From the language of another person who has died and been resurrected, we want to express the image he saw. I had a heart attack last year and my heart stopped in the emergency room 3 times. Apparently every time I had a heart attack I felt like it was a joke and I could not see any lights. And it just felt like a dream. I was actually dead, but I felt like I was asleep. As a result of an accident, one of the citizens died for a few minutes, and after being resurrected he said, He had not seen anything and had only seen an absolute blackout, and this could be due to the short time that he had died and could not understand anything. In this part, we wanna tell the story of a young person after suicide and returning from that world. I never knew when I died because I committed suicide with a can of sleeping pills and actually died in a deep sleep. But when I got to that world, I realized I was dead. I found myself in a place where the ground was completely red. It was desert as far as the eye could see, but except where I was standing, it was lush everywhere and full of flowers and greenery. I felt that if I could get away from this place and reach the green area, I would be saved. But as I approached, the green area was moving away from me. I kept running back and forth, but I could not reach the green area until I threw myself from the red ground into the green area. But I was not yet happy when I once saw a crowd that I could not count, coming towards me with sticks of fire and following me. I gave my feet as much as I could to escape, but they get closer moment by moment, and just as they were reaching out, suddenly a beautiful girl in the form of heavenly angel came and stood between me and that group and said, "What do you have? What do you want?" And then the crowd said in unison, "He killed himself and should be punished." The young girl frowned and asked, "Are they right?" I cried so much that finally the girl's heart burned and she turned to the crowd and said, "He has repented. He is not dead yet. Maybe God will forgive him. He has repented and God will surely forgive him." As the girl said this, suddenly the group of fire disappeared and from the around me and the red earth disappeared under my feet. He came back alive. Let his family know he came back. I was still blindfolded when I heard this. Suddenly there were loud noises and I heard my father screaming and my mother crying, thanking God. When I opened my eyes, I saw my mother in front of me caressing me. But at that moment I heard the voice of a delicate girl who had said a few moments ago, "Tell his family." And she was saying he was dead for 4 minutes, but for a moment my heart burned and I said, "Oh God, help him." I rolled my eyes to see who had brought me back from the world, who I suddenly cried. The young nurse who said these things was the same angel who had told them in the realm of death, "He repents and God forgives him."